All right, so today I'm going to be having a conversation with my dad, and I think this is something I've always wanted to do on the podcast to kind of have a conversation with my dad. So it might be the first of many to have with him and just to get his perspective on some subject matter. I think for me, it's a a thing of joy to have my dad listen to my podcast, and he gives feedback from time to time. And yesterday we got talking about some episodes in the podcast, and from there we got talking something that I thought was pretty interesting, and I thought it would be good for us to have this conversation and for me to get his perspective on life growing up and his how things were in his days and how things are different now. And so it's good to have you here, Daddy.
Yeah, thank you, Tola. It's nice that we have this opportunity of talking. I have always looked for an opportunity like this to express my view about what you are doing. It's sometimes hard for us as parents to ask our children who are adults to say, "How are you getting on? Is what you are doing? Are you satisfied? Are you happy? Do you feel uh, fulfilled?"
Fulfilled.
But one thing which I want you to know is that whenever I listen to your broadcast, I always feel happy and elated. Some people have drawn my attention to it. I had not been listening to the podcast before, but some people said, that you have a genius, so Sola is making waves, he's a philosopher, and so on. So that's why I just want to ask you certain things. Say, do you how do you acquire the knowledge? Because I know that your basic discipline in the university and postgraduate discipline did not go along philosophy uh, or metaphysics or things like that.
Mm.
But you exercise or reflect a deep knowledge of various subjects. How do you acquire that knowledge? Do you read certain books, metaphysics, spiritual books, or what?
Yeah, I think and that's a good question. And I think the question I ask myself too, because to be honest with you, there are some things I talk about based on inspiration. And I think since when I started doing this podcast, my eyes have been open to the fact that our understanding as human beings is is the bulk of our understanding is God inspired. Is not education inspired. And so there are some things I just have a leading towards where I just there's just a knowing in my heart that this is what I ought to say. And there are also some things that have just been information that I've received over time, even some as far back as when I was a child. Just memories that I never thought I would remember, encounters I never thought I would remember from 20 years ago, from 25 years ago, and it just comes into play. And my mind just tells me, Tola, remember this thing that you saw, remember this thing that you were taught. And then there's also new information because I'm someone that likes to interact with people. I like talking with people. So even when I'm at home, I have somebody come around, maybe he's a plumber, I will talk with them. When I have a mechanic, I will talk with them. Carpenter, I'll talk with them. Even to the people that come to empty our trash at home, I have conversations with them. And it's interesting what we learn from just having conversation with anybody and everybody, and you realize that there's so much to learn from life. I think one thing that has also helped me is I'm someone that is very interested in nature, and so when I experience nature, there are a lot of things I learn. It's like nature is talking to me, and so when I'm with my animals, the dogs, the tortoises, I see certain things. I just realize, oh, this has to be God manifested. This has to be information that I can use. But yeah, I appreciate the fact that it's something that you are able to validate, and I don't take it for granted at all that you notice that. And for me, I just believe a lot of it is God manifested, and it's a gift from God to have insight into some of these things.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Uh, I have noticed that since you were a toddler and you like to be on your own, even play with your toys, talk with them, treat them like you are interacting with human beings.
Yeah.
And you also, I also know that you love nature, including animals. If you will remember, you know you like to ask for knowledge, ask about historical things, like the interview you had with my dad,
Mm,
and you know you always ask about Papa, say about uh, my father's domestic animals. You say, Baba,
mm.
àwọn ewúrẹ́ yín kọ́? And I also know that influence you to have interest in pets, nature, tortoise, dogs.
Yeah.
Uh, so but the most recent broadcast which made me to say I should have a discussion with you was the last one. I don't know maybe it's the last or but it's current.
Yeah, the last one you listened to.
The
Mm,
last one I listened to, talking about the influence of drug.
mm,
Uh, I wonder how you have such a deep knowledge about drug, its effects, its use, the various classification from LSD to cocaine and heroin, how they are different, and the one which is a stimulant, the one which is a depressant, the one which is a
hallucinogen.
hallucinogen.
Mm.
You know, I have to ask you, say, do you have friends or
Have I had an experience with it?
have you had experience with it?
Yeah.
Yes. So those things. Yes. Are you saying that it is good, or that it enhances deep thoughts, or what?
Mm,
What is your view? Some people believe that yes, if you can do it in moderation, you is good. It's only when it's like a tipping point. Some
mm,
people don't know the stage which we tip up to the other side.
mm.
So I want you to still give a further clarification on that.
Okay, so I think to the issue, I mean, the podcast I did on design and drugs, or drugs and design. I think what I was really trying to say in that podcast is um, the way the world is, you can never truly achieve anything of great significance without an influence that allows you to manifest things or to see things in the spiritual. And this is a conversation I was having with my wife, and just telling her that the people I pity the most in this world are people are that try to do things on their own, by their own strength. So people that want to succeed and all they do is work hard. People that want to pass exams and all they do is read and study and do all those things. People that try within all physical means to achieve things. And you realize that in the long run, those are the people that are the most mediocre. And without there's something I like to say on the podcast, which is life is spiritual. And if you don't have spiritual influence from somewhere, you would be mediocre, no matter how diligent or how intentional you try to be about success. The physical can only unlock so much, but cannot unlock everything, and cannot even unlock the most important things. And one thing I've got to understand is that when we look around the world, we celebrate a lot of people, especially in the Western world, for great achievement, great insights. There are some things we are like, how did they think of this thing? How did they think of inventions? How did they think of technologies? How did they think of these things? And one thing we fail to truly admit is that the fact that they have spiritual influences. Actually, has always been something that has always been interesting to me. So if you look through time, the spiritual influence has always bounced from one thing to another. Like from the in the early century, you'd realize that most scientists, most intellectuals,
Yeah.
a lot of them were members of secret societies,
Mm-hmm.
whether Illuminati, Freemasons, whatever,
Rosicrucian.
Rosicrucian, they were all part of some kind of cult-like organization. And so a lot of normal people do not know this. So they look at people and say, this man was a great scientist, he was a great this, he was a great this, but they don't understand that it wasn't just physical activity. And so when you go further in history or come closer in history, you realize that when you move from the early ages, um, you would now come down to the early the 70s, 80s, 60s, and you realize that the influence then was a lot of drugs. And I've had the opportunity to read books and to listen to a lot of pioneers in industries, and a lot of them talk about drug use, especially in the 70s. There was a big boom of drug use, and which a lot of people are not communicating. It's something that when they read out somebody's citation, they never say he was a drug. He used a lot of drugs,
No, no.
but it's edited. But that thing had a massive influence on the way they saw the world, because drugs is something that once you use, it allows you to begin to see things in, for lack of better word, in a spiritual way. And so there are some things that become revealed to you. That's why you look at some songwriters, a lot of them use Indian hemp, use cocaine, use this to write songs, and you wonder what was this person thinking when he wrote so. That's why they will write a song that you will listen to and to make
Yeah,
you cry.
they are in another world.
Another world
Another
entirely,
world.
and then another world. Then so if you on your own just try to sit down and write a song without an influence, it can never happen. And so there always needs to be a spiritual influence. And what I'm trying to say is that the ultimate spiritual influence we can have, because when you use drugs, you use cocaine, you use Indian hemp, you use LSD, these things have an effect on your body,
Body, yeah.
on your organs, on your sleep, on your diet, on your relationship with your families. It comes at a very, very huge cost. Even though it might make you a superstar in your work, it will diminish the returns you are getting on life itself as a human
Yeah.
being. And so it is not the ultimate spiritual source. And what I'm trying to say is that the ultimate spiritual source is God. If God is the one that can give us influence without any negative effect on our humanity. In fact, it gives us influence and amplifies our humanity. So I think through that podcast, I was just trying to say that we need to wake up to the reality that the world we are living in has been shaped by people with dark influences. That thing that you see, a gun, a bomb, a grenade, weapons of mass destruction, man did not just think and sit down and think about it. Something was open to a man spiritually for him
A
to imagine a
revelation
dynamite. Yes,
from the infinite mind.
yes. For a man to think of a dynamite, a stick that looks like a candle and can blow up a lot of things, it is not in the human physical brain to come up with such things. So what I'm trying to say is that we as children of God need to now begin to tap into the original spiritual source
Yes.
of knowledge, of pure inspiration. And the Bible says that everything that is good, pure, lovely, worthy of thinking of, praiseworthy is what we should think about. But when you look at the world, you don't see a lot of things that are good, pure, worthy of praise and stuff, because we are not using inspiration that comes from God. A lot of us are using a lot of what is shaping the world is shaped by wrong influences, darker influences. So I
Mm.
think that's what that podcast was about.
Okay.
I think the second thing you touched on is
Yeah.
why I really want us to have a discussion here. You understand? You were talking about schooling, and you know, I wanted to. I said yesterday after we discussed that I want to have this discussion with you, and just get to understand what it was like in your days, because you were telling me some pretty interesting thing yesterday. You were talking about sleeping outside in
Or
the on the
sleeping
farm, in the
in the
open,
field.
in the open field on the farm,
Yeah.
being awoken by cocks,
Yes.
you know, and you know the way you painted that picture, it was so beautiful, because I
Mm.
was like thinking it didn't, you know, on a good day when you see what we would refer to as less privileged children in today's world, because what you describe, sleeping outside in the open, we see it as less privileged. But
Mm.
but when you described it yesterday, it sounded like a very heavenly experience.
Yes.
And the reason why I just thought let's have this conversation is because I realized that as the generations are going by, um, children are becoming harder to satisfy. Children are beginning to manifest what we call adult emotions and adult challenges. So they will tell you that a 9-year old, a 10-year old has depression issues, a 10-year-old committed suicide,
Mm.
a 13-year-old is dealing with very soon you still start having 15-year-old having blood pressure issues.
Mm.
I know the other day we were at home, and it was in the night, and the weather right now is very hot, and there was no light, and we were all feeling so hot. The inverter battery has gotten weak. It cannot last more than how many hours. But what I realized that night was everybody was complaining about heat. Even the children, they said their fan had stopped working. And I was just frantically trying to do something to make sure that everybody felt some relief from this heat. And so I said I was going to put on the gen. So I went outside to put on the generator. And immediately I stepped outside, I felt a cool breeze, like if there was AC outside. And I saw the dog really lying down on the floor enjoying itself.
Mm.
And it occurred to me that how come this dog is enjoying more of life than we, the human beings that are cooking
Yes.
ourselves up inside the house? Like if we
Mm.
are punishing ourselves. Because when I came inside, it was like
Yes.
night and day. It was so cool. The wind was so cool. So I'm thinking, why did we have to cook ourselves up in that concrete cement house and use artificial um, ventilation, artificial cooling systems, And so I really felt like we were cheating ourselves of life. So when you spoke yesterday, and you're talking
Mm.
about your experience living in the real world, I thought it was something that I feel other
Yes.
people need to hear about.
Yes. Thank you. Uh, I often wonder, or I say to myself, are my children not missing good things of life?
Mm,
I ask myself. Because when I reflect on how very early in the morning, as early as 5 a.m., my dad will wake us up, myself and my brother Gbade and the uh, boys that were learning carpentry from him. We will wake up as early as 5 a.m. and we will trek to the farm, which was about 6 or 5 kilometers away from home, from town.
so there was no car, no
No, no,
bicycle,
no, no,
nothing.
no car. It's only my dad that will use a bicycle, and he will
Mm,
tell us, "Hey, start go, because if I meet you on the way, I will just pass you phone. Back on join phone."
mm,
So, and he will tell me that we will be close to the farm before um, he set out from home. And other boys will join us, or we join other boys as we move along. Uh, that was a physical exercise
mm,
which we did not know. But we will do that physical exercise early in the morning, trek 5 6 kilometers. It was when we get to the farm that we will eat breakfast, what we can call breakfast. We pluck maize, put it on fire, roast it like that, and eat before we start to hoe. But why he woke us early was because there were certain activities that were time bound, like munching of the yam. That is, you gather grass and put it on the heap where you have planted yam. So then you put soil on top of the grass. So and you that has to be done very early when the grass will not be breaking. Because once it is afternoon, you can't gather the grass like that for
Mm.
that purpose. So and there was nobody to assist us to prepare any breakfast than ourselves. And when the lunch time comes, we will do it on our own.
But
So
how old were you at this point?
well, I believe I should be about 7 or thereabout,
7 years old.
7 years old, and we will trek 7,
And he woke you up at as early as what time?
5,
As 5 a.m.
as early as 5 a.m.
Wow.
Uh, up to the time we were in secondary school. So, but we started that something very early.
But how did you now handle school? How was school? Because if you were waking up at 5 a.m., what time do you now go to school?
It was no. When we were in primary school, we will only go to farm on weekends.
Okay.
So, and the other time we were in the farm would be during holidays, because there was a time when government deliberately decided to fix school calendar in such a manner that there will be a long holiday at the peak of
Farming
farming
period.
activity.
Mm.
That is weeding, hoeing, planting. So during that time, we were always in the farm.
Mm.
We will only come back maybe on Saturday evening, so that we will be able to go to church on Sunday. And my father will not sleep in the farm. He will leave us there with his apprentices who are older than us, much older than us. So we will take care of preparing our food, lunch, dinner, which was mainly pounded yam. We will pound the yam on our own. We prepare the soup on our own. So all those things uh, are natural to me
Mm.
and my brother. So when we were even in secondary school and we were day students outside our hometown, we prepared our own food. We were not eating outside. We prepared our own food, soup, turn amala. So, but what I am interested in is being close to nature. When we finish work on the field, we will go to the bush to look for games, uh, either rabbit, any 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 animal that we could find. We
Mm.
dig hole to catch them, and you will see nature at its best. When you see a row of certain uh, plants, trees, it will just be as if you are looking at a plantation.
Mm.
And when the wind blows, particularly during the dry season, you will see work of nature and sand. rolling the dead leaves, the dry leaves, as if you are hearing the waves of ocean. You roll the dry leaves like rolling a carpet.
So to have this relaxing sound
Relaxing
when it
sound.
is when the wind is
Yes,
blowing the
when
leaves.
the wind is blowing. So we were not afraid.
Mm.
Somebody who is not used to such an environment will may be fearful and afraid that how do you locate your way back because we will go deep into very close to reserve because there is a reserve forest close to our farm. So we had no fear. Either snake, scorpion, wild animal, no. Because we know that first of all, they will run away from us.
Mm.
That is the natural instinct of wild animal.
So you were never scared of because you just
No,
knew that they would run away
they will
from you.
run away.
Mm.
God has put something in us that make them to fear us.
Mm.
It is only when it is inevitable for them, they are cornered, that they will now charge back.
Mm. And this was at like 7 years old. You had this
Yes,
mentality of
yes,
because the reason
uh,
why I'm saying this is because sometimes for me it seems so. Sometimes it seems so. I don't want to use the word worrisome, but it concerns me that sometimes my kids, even the oldest, when they say, "Daddy, Daddy, there's something in my room," you go to the room and you see the thing so small as a maybe mosquito, as small as a
yes,
fly, and they are so scared of it. They are so scared of it. I'm like, is this fear? Should they have this
yeah,
amount of fear? You know, they see a wall gecko and they're like, they can't sleep in the room. I have to kill the wall gecko. I have to
yes.
do this. So for me, it's very interesting to hear you saying, as
Uh,
7 year old, you are chasing snake, chasing
yes.
rabbit, without, and you just had that mindset that these things are running away from you. And right now, I see myself telling my children that
And
look at how
we
small
will
this thing
sleep. We
is.
will sleep outside the middle of forest, nowhere, because the farm was about minimum of 6 kilometers, 5 kilometers away from home,
Hmm.
and the only place is hut.
Mm,
So, but in front of that hut is a bare floor, bare ground, and
mm,
we lay a mat upon it, lay it on the ground. The mat is very hard, made of stalk of millet sewn together, and nobody is afraid that something is coming to kidnap us. There was nothing like
kidnapping.
kidnapping. So
Mm.
there was nothing like bandits. No, we all knew ourselves. If you hear barking of dog from the next farmstead, you know that the people are either doing something. Nothing to worry about.
But all this time, when let's say your dad wakes you up early in the morning, you have to walk how many kilometers, 5, 6 kilometers to the farm. You had to do this what seems like really demanding physical activity. Did you ever complain, like you and your siblings? You ever complain about the kind of life you were living? Was there a desire for more?
No, we never complained. We did not know anything better anyway.
Hmm.
And when we knew something better, we felt that, it's our own law to go through it that way.
Hmm.
Because by that we tell us, say, well, you have to do it, because that's the only way we can get money. And
Hmm.
so, and
So your dad
those,
was open with you about
oh,
what you
yes,
needed to do to get money.
yes.
Hmm.
And the other fact is that our mother could not say anything.
Hmm.
You dare not say
They are stressing the children.
they are stressing the children. No, no, no. They don't burn them well. Yes. Yeah.
What you're trying to say right now is that you never felt disadvantaged.
No,
You never felt poor.
I never felt poor. We were to, well, maybe if there was no sense of comparison.
Hmm.
Maybe you will feel, these people are in special advantage, those with parents in Ghana, maybe Niger. But besides that, there was no, there was, well, I can't say that we felt we were underprivileged
Hmm.
until very, very late. So, uh, and with later reflection, we just believe that I, myself, I believe that God has a design
Hmm.
for everybody, that it does not matter the route you go through, it is for a purpose. It is for a purpose. Mm.
It never ate on your self esteem.
Uh,
You never. Okay.
well,
Uh huh.
yes, we, as a person,
Yeah.
did not uh, remove anything from me or in terms of self-esteem,
Yeah.
except one factor, that those negative things that other people are doing, the people that I see as a privilege
Hmm.
do, they say, I want to join them,
Like what?
like smoking,
Hmm.
like using, trying to look for money to
Hmm.
dress the way they dress. But I was restrained from doing it because my father would not give the money for school fees to me.
Hmm.
So he will give it to one of our uncles who will pay the school fees. So there was no way of paying prank with the school fees. So they don't even have the access.
Hmm.
But one will sometimes ask a distant relation, that I need this, I need that, I need shoe, I need belt, I need shirt. If they were able to do it, they will do it. Where they were unable to do it, they will just hear and say, okay, we will do it for you. And that promise will never be fulfilled. But all together, I never felt inferior to anybody. What was more paramount in our mind was the intellect, brain.
Hmm.
We assess people more by their ability, their academic ability,
Hmm.
and good enough. I was not lagging behind because I used to write composition which will be posted on the notice board as to the best essay, the best composition for my class in literary arts. I used to excel, and I was proud that for students from other secondary school around, when they came around and they will see my essay pasted on the school board. Mm.
So I think now the question is, um, so why did we, or why did you now live that life? You understand? Like, why did you leave? Because from what I'm getting from you now, it seemed like a time that you enjoyed. Maybe you didn't know it at
No,
that point that you were
no, no,
enjoying it.
no, Tola, let me tell you,
Mm.
I've not left it.
Mm.
And if you observe, it's also reflected in my attitude. and my preference. And that's why I take interest in farming.
Mm.
I I take interest in in nature. When I was growing up, when I was even in primary school, I was reading books on botany because I just love the way they describe plants, the names they call their botanical name, their botanical properties, their medicinal properties. So that's why I've chosen to have a farm that where you can get not only cash crop but some exotic plants, medicinal plants that are rare. They are almost going to extinction because of development. Uh, the wood have been removed, cut down, the building and so on. So well, when you get to my farm, you will see all sort of trees that that used to be common in those days. So I still want to be close to nature, and it's not because I want to be selling land, but I believe that one of you or your children might be interested in what they call uh, cottage home, or what do you call it?
Yeah, what's it called? Country home.
Country home.
Mm.
Where you will have expanse of land with wood, trees, and you drive almost a kilometer before you get into the main house. So where you keep all the trees, the natural trees there, undisturbed vegetation.
No, but I understand that, but the thing is, what I'm saying, why did we, or why did you move away from that? Is because now you grew up in that environment
Yeah.
where that allowed you to be close to nature, where you woke up every morning and took like a 5 kilometer hike, because that's a hike
Mm.
to a farm. You slept in the outdoors. You observed nature. You describe nature in such a
Yeah.
poetic way. But then it's almost like when you grew up, you raised your family in a place away from where from what you knew as childhood.
Yeah.
So now what you are saying about a country home has become almost a an uninteresting thing for people in my generation, and even far more uninteresting for my children. Because
Yes.
the first thing they will ask you if you say we are traveling home is there internet? Is there
Mm.
light? Yeah, the roads, is there shopping mall? Is there fast food? Do they have Chicken Republic? Can I eat pizza? Can I, all those kind of things? So
Mm.
I, my question is, why did people move away? Like you moved away, your brothers moved away. Some of my cousins are abroad now; they're even totally far
Far
away.
away.
So, why did we decide, if growing up in that time was such a lovely time and
It
such an
was.
innocent time,
It
why
was.
didn't people stay?
Well, I don't know. I always ask myself that question. But I know that it's a flow. We are flown out like a stream. We are flown out of that stage. Some people are just coming, going through it. Those that we say are less privileged from my hometown, they still go through that. Although they will be resisting or be
Mm,
complaining, say, why am I not like this?
mm.
These people from Abuja, from Lagos, from America, want to be like that. Yes, uh, but they will. naturally go through that process of trekking to farm, although it may not be as common as before. Nowadays, people take motorcycle, they take Okada, they ride bicycle. Hardly do you find people trekking 5 kilometers to the farm these days. They will look for Okada or motorcycle to take them to farm. They hardly slept on the farm. But we enjoyed those days. There was nothing like a television. Television was on the sky when we would see all sorts of pattern in the sky with a moon, with a star.
And you enjoyed
And
seeing
we
that.
enjoy it. And till we just fall asleep, and we woke up by 5 a.m. when the cock crows, hale and hearty, sweet as fiddle. So, but you see, I feel that you and my grandchildren, you are missing.
Mm.
You
Mm.
are missing the gift of nature. We would sleep there. There was nothing like mosquito, or maybe we develop immunity to
Mm.
mosquito, or maybe there were some plants around that were repelling
Hmm. So you never
mosquitoes.
felt mosquito biting you?
No.
That's incredible.
Mm. So, well, I hope one day I'll be able to take your children to my hometown, and they will be close to nature, and they will run around and say, well, we have somewhere. I know that after some time they will disperse,
Hmm.
and they will always be talking. If they say, our father came from that place, but I don't know when last I was there. But some people will still be there. Some people will still live that part of life. Some will find it interesting. Some will find it challenging.
Hmm.
It will challenge them to say, look, we can have something better.
Yeah.
But this issue of something better is psychological,
Yeah.
is spiritual. Some may find say, look, what are they looking for in the city that is not here?
Hmm.
And honestly, that's my greatest worry. Otherwise, I would have loved to be in my hometown, but for medical attention.
Hmm.
For medical attention, if you are there and you don't have a doctor, usually you call doctor is the only person in the so-called hospital with 2 or 3 nurses. So you
I think
you
it's a very funny dynamics though, because I think of it this way. Why do we why do we need doctors in the first place? A lot of the things that take us to the hospital
you
are
are
things
right.
that are city related.
Not many of
Of them there
people there
yes, a lot of the
in my
sickness is in the
hometown.
city, from
Not
the
many of
fumes
them
and the food and things we
will
eat,
go
the
to the
lifestyle.
hospital.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will have been recording deaths
Yes.
in in tens, 100.
Mm-hmm.
But you will see them. My aunties, none of them is less than 85.
Mm.
Well, closer to 90 than 80,
Mm.
and they are still living. So, and they pray that, you will bury us. So,
Mm.
uh, I'm worried for them, but they are not worried.
Mm.
They, 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 they take care of themselves the way they know.
Mm. I know that I think one of the last things I want to ask is now you have the gift of hindsight.
Yeah.
So you grew up in that environment, you left, you worked in the city, you rose up in the city, you raised your family in the city, you had good international exposure, you are well traveled,
Yeah.
and but now I know that there are other people that you grew up with in the village that never left that village.
Yeah.
So now you when you go back and you see each other now, that person that never left stayed in that village, and you that had education, live, and saw this exposure. Um, Now, in your own opinion, do you ever look at them with a kind of, is there anything you envy about their lives, or or do you feel like um they could have done more? Because I know a
Mm.
lot of them might look at you and say, you have done very good for yourself. So what I'm thinking is that, what is the perception of, do these two do you have of each other? People that stayed there and looking at you, do you feel they envy you and think you made the right decision by leaving? And when you, because you said a lot of things now, saying you wish you could go back and live there right now.
Mm.
That means you long for that lifestyle right now.
Yes.
Do you by some means wish that you had stayed?
Well, maybe if I had stayed, I wouldn't have had the opportunity of appreciation of
Mm.
what I've gone through, all the metamorphoses that have taken place in my life. That is the first benefit I could see. I could see that a lot of changes have happened in my life, to appreciate certain things, that what I went through uh, for my own good. It has spiritual benefit, it has physical benefit, uh, but to my other colleagues that have been in my hometown, yes, they will look at me with some envy that I've done myself a lot of good. But I want them to know that we are basically still the same in terms of interpersonal relationship. They relate with me as Teju. I relate with them as my old school friends, classmates. So I don't discriminate. And I there is something that I need to say, that they are staying at home has challenged them to want to be like me, and not being like me, but they felt challenged, and most of them have taken the challenge in a very positive manner. Those that one were unable, they feel challenged, and they've taken positive action to the challenge. In which case, those who were constrained because of their inability of their parents to send them to school or give them their opportunities, they now ensure that they give the opportunities to their own children. None of them uh, will feel fulfilled that if they don't send their children to school. That's the what I see. My only worry is that some of their children may have a wrong perception that until you are in the city or
Mm.
you run away from home, you can't do
You're
well.
not doing well,
You are
yes.
not doing well.
Mm.
They are, there are so many opportunities to do well and live comfortably, live a decent life rather than living in slums, in
In the
cities
city,
where
yes.
you have nothing to show for it than that we are in Lagos. whereas you are living in one remote area with no sanitation or whatever. Well, I thank God for your life. I thank God for your spiritual development. I hope that you are well rewarded enough with this uh, your vocation.
Oh yeah, I, I think one of the rewards is that it puts me in this position where um, we can have a conversation like this. I think it's an unpopular vocation to be honest with you, but just like you spoke about your life growing up in that village, which on the outside doesn't look glamorous, but when you talk about it, you talk about how it made you a better human being. I think that's the same way I feel with this vocation of teaching, where on the outside people say, how is Tola managing with this thing? Does this thing make sense? Does it is not as glamorous, but on the inside, I can feel a change. I can feel the reward of being a better human being at the end of it all. But yeah, I think it has been good talking with you, and thank you for sharing your experience,
Thank you.
your growing up experience with us. And I really hope that one day we can all revert to
Amen.
to this original life that we got right even before there
I
was
also
this.
pray that your children will have that opportunity you had with my grandfather, with your grandfather, with my father, to talk with him. I ask him questions. So I will pray that God will preserve my life till when these your children will be able to ask me questions and I will answer them coherently. I will be in a state of mind that is articulate,
Mm.
just like my father was when you were interviewing him in those days when you were in primary. I think you were in
I
primary
was in
school
primary
there.
school, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I pray that for you too.
Amen.
All right. So I think that's been the conversation. And as I said, we'll have more of this conversation in the future.